So this is part 2 on the secrets of shaping origami, and the first thing we are going to go into more detail in is wire. So let's clear this table, bring in some examples, and so if you have already seen the first video, then you will understand that I briefly talked about wire, and so I'm going to give a few examples in this video for shaping with wire, and I have display and shaping. So again, quickly go over the types of wire again. We have really thick wire, malleable wire. They come in lots of different thicknesses. All the same size, so just different thicknesses. This is super thin as well. And again, we have the even thinner wire. This is 26 gauge silver wire. Again, it's really thin and it's really flexible, so you can shape it in whatever direction you want. Whatever, put this inside the model, turn it, and it'll hold exactly as it does. Right, so let's push this out to the front. I'll just keep up. So let's first of all look at shaping wire. So we have 3 models that all have wire in them. We have, of course, the Ryujin, Lobster, and Shikikato's Kudo. Right, so first of all, these 3 models right here all have wire somewhere inside them to help hold their shape. We're going to look at this one for example. So when I first made this, gradually, over time, the model wanted to just do the splits, so it would slowly, legs would just open, and then it would go, it would be like that, basically, and then I tried to fix it, and then it would go back. So it's quite annoying. So what I did was I have put wire on the inside of the legs, so just the inside, just the legs. The back legs are fine, they're already sturdy enough, so I really should re-fix this up, but if we zoom in, maybe hard to see. Yeah, you can just see this bit of that shiny part. So I basically took one of these wires, I've trimmed it, and then I've curved it, and then painstakingly tried to slot it in place. So the wire goes from inside this leg to inside this leg. So I had to undo a bit of gluing to put this back. I just not glued it again, so it's still a bit loose here, but it still stands much better. Oops, still zoomed in. It still stands much better, because over time gravity will just naturally want to pull it down. So if you shape this perfect, and then a month later it's doing the splits, it's a really good example and used to use wire to insert it, and then it will hold its position forever, or much longer, which is really good. So that is a really good trick. If you've got any models that are like that, then wire will come in super handy. Second of all, I'll do the Ryujin, get that out of the way. So as you know, I used this wire inside Ryujin. I used, was it 2 lengths or 3 bits of it? Like basically 3 large strips, or 2, I think it was 2, I can't remember. But I used 2 of these inside Ryujin. So basically, before I folded the scales over, I opened up like halfway the amount of layers and inserted a piece of wire, two pieces from here, goes all the way around the body, up to here. Now the reason I used wire and not glue was because, first of all, I wanted to have a thicker body, so a nice thick body to match the actual, to match an actual dragon, basically, so it's really thick, which is just what I wanted. Second of all, I wanted it to be as flexible as possible when shaping, because if I added glue in between every single one of these layers, then I would basically have 10 hours before it goes rock solid, and if I didn't get this in position in 10 hours, I'd have screwed up a year's of work. A year's worth of work that would have been down the drain. But the good thing about wire is, just say this is the way I shaped it at first, and then I want to make the neck higher up. I can just tilt it. I'll go higher up. Wanted it to go higher, I'll go higher up. Wanted it to go lower, I'll go lower. If I want the body curved out more, curved out more. If I want it to go completely straight, I can unfold it all and do that. So shaping is so flexible when using wire. It's so handy as well. Try to think of what else to say. Yeah, so that is a really good example for using wire inside models that you don't really need to glue. Okay, and we have Cota's lobster. Now, if you have not already seen the 12-hour shaping video, you will notice that we have what I made a wire frame, a wire structure inside this part here. Basically, I measured this length to this length and then tried as best as possible to make a wire frame to go inside here. And basically what I did was, this is another good example, because this part is basically one layer thin. Now, you can't really glue a part that's one layer, but let me get a bit of pen and paper just to show you. Right, so I've got a bit of paper and a pen. So just imagine that I cut this in half right here, and then we looked at it from this position. Basically what we would have is, we would have this. That's basically it. So for instance, this part right here is one layer, and then these parts are two. But with other models, what we have would be like this, and then it would go back and forth. So here we've only got one layer, where here we have multiple layers stacked as normal. But for this, you can't really add the glue to shape, because there's no place to add glue when you want to get one layer. Whereas here, you can add glue in between all the layers and it'll be easy enough to shape. So what I did was, I'm zoomed in fully, I made a wire frame and just inserted it in here, like that, and then I just added glue to these parts. I think I did, I can't actually remember if I did, but I put a wire frame inside and then glued here and here, and then just curved it here and here. So we have, zoomed all the way in. So that gives us that really nice curve, and it will hold its position. I couldn't have gotten this without using wire. I did try to brainstorm other ways to actually get this. If I didn't have wire, I couldn't really use glue, so I didn't really have a choice to not do anything, so I had to use wire. That's why I use wire in that part. Also, I used wire in these parts here. So basically, before I started to shape these parts, you can also see this in the 12-hour shaping video. I will link it in the description. I will also include the time frames for when I did these parts. So the time frame for adding and making the wire for this part will be on the screen, and the part for doing this part will be on just under that. So the two time frames are on the screen. So basically, I cut thin bits of wire. This wire, this is as thin as I can get. I opened up the pockets on the inside and then inserted a piece of wire from here to here, so this length, and then curved it. It worked perfectly, until the wire decided to tilt forward. So instead of having the wire going from here to here, it's sort of pushed all the way up, so it still works really good. It still holds its shape perfectly. The reason I did that was because I didn't need to actually glue it. Well, I did have to add a wee bit of glue, but I didn't have to fully glue the parts to hold in place. So like gluing the sides here and hoping that it holds in place. A new wire would get it much better. It worked perfectly when I started. I didn't think of using glue or some way to hold this in because I didn't think that would happen, but it happened, but it still holds its shape, so that is the main thing. So that is 3 examples of shaping with origami. No, shaping with wire. We have wire inside all 3 of those models. So let's put these to the side, and we're going to look at displaying with wire. So basically making a display for a model to help make it stand or make it look better. So first of all, we have Robert Lang's Cactus. I forgot the name of this, Satoshi Kamiya's one, and Cato's Giganto. Right, so first of all, let's look at this one. Now, because of how I shaped it, we have one leg up, and when you try and stand it, it's only natural that the model will want to tilt forward because there's no support on this part. So making a little wire frame and then inserting it into the body, it will hold perfectly and it will stand, and it won't fall over because it's naturally wanting to fall over. What I could have done, I didn't think of this at the time, I could have inserted wire inside this leg and then curved it right round so it held its position, and then there would have been a really good chance that I wouldn't have needed to make this wire frame. It would have stood on its own basically. So there would have been a chance that would have worked with this model, but I never thought of that at the time. So that is one example. The same again with this Giganto. Because this model is basically front heavy, what that means is this is basically the only support it's getting to stand. There's probably more weight on the right side than the left, so it's going to be front heavy and want to fall over. Same again, just making a little bit of wire, covering it, putting it inside the model, and then once you do that, you'd basically put it on the table and then try and adjust it. You can easily, because the wire is malleable, you can change the position of it and then keep changing it until you get it perfect, and then it stands perfectly on its own. This model does stand on its own, but again over time it just kept falling over, and that's why I made this to help support it, and it's worked ever since. And then we have Robert Lang's Cactus. Now, what I did is I have wrapped 2 pieces of wire quite tight around the top. I haven't glued it, so basically before I'd done this, the paper went up straight and then slightly curved out. I didn't want that because when I took the pictures and posted on my Instagram, I basically finished the model, took the pictures, posted, and then I realised it's not perfectly straight, so what I did is wrap wire around it. Because the paper wants to naturally push out, these wires in place will hold up that basically the force that the paper is trying to exert, and it will hopefully keep it in position. So I'm going to take these wires off. Was I done? Nope. So I'm going to take these off, and hopefully they've been kept on for about 10 days now, so it should be much better. So let's take these off. And when I take these off, it should hold its position much better. If not as how it is, it'll be much better. So so far so good. And then the final one. I haven't glued in here as well, so now I'm holding it now, so when I let go it should, this is the moment of truth, it should hold its position. And there we go, it is held perfectly. Now I'll keep a close eye on it again in case it wants to push out more. If it does, I'll wrap it around again, give it another 10 days and then should be good. So that is basically how that works. So that's another good example of using wire if models aren't in the position that you want them to be, and then you can add wire, hold it in place for a while and then undo it, and then it's basically back to normal. So that is how wire works. We have looked at 6 models. We have the Cactus, forgot that guy's name, Big T-Rex, the Eugene, the Kudu, and the Lobster, which is out of frame. But we have looked at 6 models for wires. For shaping with wires, we have 3 with displaying and 3 with shaping. Okay, so let's move on to the second thing that we're going to look at is cotton wool. I'm not going to take any off this because it makes quite a mess, so it's, again, just check the first video to give it a better look at this. So again, it's a really soft, like spongy material, easily rippable and shapeable. So check that out if you want to see more of that. So these 4 models, again, they all have cotton wool inside them in some way. So let's move these aside. Again, we'll first of all look at this model again, Shuki's Kudu. Now again, cotton wool is super handy when shaping because it allows you to give a more 3D realistic look to a model. Now normally, certain models when you shape it are quite flat. They're perfect to look at this angle, but when you look at it at this angle it's too thin or like that in a way, so okay, there's nothing wrong with that, but for me I like to try and have it as realistic as possible. So when you use cotton wool, you can put it inside the body. So we have, it's basically, I've glued all this part, so I've basically created a pocket which I could insert cotton wool inside, and it gives a much softer feel, a more 3D look, and it does help for shaping, but it does add a bit of weight to the actual model, so it's also good to consider how much to add if you actually need to add any, and if it's too heavy, again you can always make a wee stand for it. So it helps to add a more 3D natural look, so that's why I love using cotton wool. So that's the first example. Second of all, we'll look at Robert Lang's Bull Moose. Now as you know, this is probably a really prime example. This model is shaped super flat. Nothing wrong with it, but personally I would like to see it more round, more 3D. So we have, again, I've created a fully closed belly and closed up here as well. I've kept a wee part open here in case I need to remove some, add some, so it's always good to have a wee opening to adjust if you need to make any changes. Now again, the belly is full of cotton wool and it gives it a much more natural 3D round look, which is what I love to see. Now when I was shaping this, I took into consideration the weight that I would be adding, so what I did was I put wire, that thin wire I just showed, inside the legs, all 4 legs. I did have some going in here, but you could see it, so I removed it. doesn't really make a difference to that part, but adding wire again helps with the weight. See, it stands perfectly. Again, it's easily adjustable if I want to make the legs wider or angle them a different angle, as if it's walking more, like that, or back. I can easily do that. But I added the wire to help support the model with the extra weight I would be adding inside. So it really does help. When you look at Robert Lang's model, I'll have a comparison, so I'll put the picture here. There's nothing wrong with it. Again, it's just, to me, having it more round is a bit more realistic. So that's why I like to add cotton wool. And if you want to practice using cotton wool, tripod is going to shake. If you want to practice using cotton wool, I would suggest this model because it's a really good example of not using cotton wool to using cotton wool, having a flat final model to a 3D model. So it's a really good practice. This is a really good example if you want to actually practice with cotton wool. Again, it gives really nice results. And we have Camilla's tree frog. Again, I have stuffed the belly with cotton wool because it gives it that much more rounder shape. Basically like that egg shape where it comes sort of out and back down. And again, it's soft. So it makes it more easier to add these like 3D, like soft mountain folds. If I didn't add cotton wool, they wouldn't hold as much. But by adding that, and with the combination of glue, it keeps those effects, which is really nice. So cotton wool does help with parts like this. Oh yeah, I forgot to bring another model. I'll show it at the end as well. Another really good example of using cotton wool. Then we also have not chameleon, whatever the name is. I forgot the name of it. I keep forgetting the names. But anyway, the whole body is full of cotton wool. It's the same again. I've basically, before I closed the belly, I opened it up, I curved these parts, so instead of being flat, I curved them like that, so that created a bit more room to add the cotton wool, so the paper would naturally form around it, and then basically stuffed the belly with cotton wool, and then glued over this part, pegged it here and here to hold it in place. The next day I took it off, and then it's perfect. And this model, I need to fix the size of it because the paper's really thick, so maybe I could like peg it and then hold it here. That'd be a good idea. The big pegs, put paper over it and hold it for at least a week, and that should be much better. So I'm actually going to do that after this. And again, I have wire in each of the 4 legs and the tail. That's how I get the curve to hold its position. You couldn't really do that with glue. Maybe it wouldn't hold as much. That's why it's like that. And that's because I didn't shape the legs. If I thinned them down and then added wire and then made it look like it walked, and it wouldn't really hold its balance. So I kept the legs like this, so it holds itself, because I don't have anything to actually balance it on, like a log or something. Again, that's why I did that. So let's go and get. So it's the exact same with this mantis. The belly is full of cotton wool. This part right here, because this part is 1 layer thin, there's not much you can do in terms of shaping. So let me just show you again. If I were to cut this off and look at it from this angle, what we would have is, oh, the colour changed quick when I put the weight on. We'd have a circle, and then you'd have layers here. So you'd have, so this is just like the halfway mark. So the bottom part is where all the pleats are for the abdomen. All these parts here. So we can easily add glue in between all these layers and then give it that nice curve. So the bottom part's fine, but the top part, because it's only one layer thin, then you can't really do that. You can't add glue to one layer. I have no idea how that would even work, or what results that would give, but I decided to add cotton wool. So just fill up the belly with cotton wool. When you put in the right amount, the cotton wool will naturally, the amount of pressure that it builds up will naturally push outwards, giving that nice 3D effect, like that. If I didn't use cotton wool, then this would be sunken in. So instead of having a perfect circle like that, we would have, the bottom would be fine because we have all the layers, but then the top would be, I don't know, like that. Something, that's how the first one turned out, and that's when I realised it's good. I should do it again and use cotton wool. So that's what I did. That's how I figured out how to do that. And again, I kept a wee bit open at the back in case I need to adjust it. That's important as well. Don't fully close something unless you're 100% comfortable with or certain it's correct, because if you do and you realise I need to add more, I need to take some out, but I can't because there's no opening, I can't get in, I don't want to undo all this glue in case it rips the paper, and then, so give yourself a wee bit of safety when using cotton wool. So that is, again, shaping with cotton wool. Oh, I forgot one more. When I come to shape Camilla's lobster, again, I might consider putting cotton wool on the inside of these parts, and yeah, this does seem like it's possible. I could fill up these parts with cotton wool to get that nice 3D puffy effect. I would probably shape it first and then puff it out. So that's my plan for when I actually come to shape this. And it's crazy as I used 70 centimeters for this model, but when I seen Camilla's actual lobster at the convention last year, it was massive. So he must have at least used 140, maybe 160 centimeters. It was a big lobster, so 160 centimeters probably. I'd probably, if I were to do it again, 140, definitely. Because then his legs were, I don't know, like that big. They were massive legs. So anyway, I'll probably use cotton wool to puff this out as well, especially on the inside here as well. Give that really nice round look. Okay, so that is cotton wool. Again, quickly recap, all of these models have cotton wool inside. They can be used for anything, any type of model that you want. Cotton wool will come in super handy. So there's a lot of versatility in the actual type of models that you would want to use cotton wool. It doesn't need to be insects, it can be mammals, it can even be sharks. You can close the belly on a shark, stuff it with cotton wool, and then you're good to go. Next, we are going to look at gluing. So this is the glue that I use. Titebond II Extend Wood Glue. It's a slow drying speeder set for glue, so you have more time to shape. And then I've just been using this every now and then, Elmer's washable clear glue, just to see if it gave less glue marks, which I'm not really too sure if it does. I think it does a wee bit, but anyway, so this is the glue I have used for every single model that you have seen me make over the years, and every single model you will see me make over the years. They will have a combination of this, and MC within. So again, there's no real example of a model that I could show with glue, because every model that I've made has got glue in it. So I've got two models here. Again, we have Kota's Whip Spider. Now, when you shape a model like this, especially insect, personally, for me, when I think to myself, how can I get the thinnest legs as possible? what can I do to achieve that result? First of all, you need thin paper. So having thin paper doesn't mean you'll get thin legs. You need to know how to do it. And basically, what I do is I glue between every single layer in this paper. Every single layer of mountain folds and valley folds, they will have glue in between. So when I fully glue all the layers on one side and then all the layers on the other, and then I squeeze it down and get it as thin as possible, then I can fold it in half and then fold it in half again and then curve it, and then obviously add the crimps, and that will allow me to get the thinnest results. So let me just give another example of what I would normally do, using the same bit of paper to save the environment. So what we have here, I can see that, let's use the other side. I'm just going to draw like this. So basically, mountain and valley folds, if you can't already tell, all of these are within one leg. So what I would do is, I would glue, I don't know more, yeah. So I would add glue in between all these layers. So I would do this for every single layer that I can possibly open up. I'm not going to do it for all of them, but you would do it for the rest of them. And then when I bring it all together, I would end up, just say I brought all these together and end up with this. So the thickness from here to here is automatically reduced. Now when you glue every single layer, you basically force out all the air. Any excess air in between the layers will just add a bit of thickness. So if I missed some of these layers, then it would be much thicker. You see how closely compact these are to these? It's much thicker. So by gluing every single layer I can open up and then squishing it all the way down, I get super thin layers, or layer, basically. It combines into one layer, and then this will basically equal really thin, and then I can fold that in half like that. So I've just folded, basically just folded this part and this part down. So I get that, and then I fold it in half again. Yeah, so how would that look? Well, I've screwed that up already. And then you fold it in half, and then you get half the thickness. And then I would just try and curve it to make it look as round as possible. Or depending on what type of insect I'm doing, if I want it to be completely round, or add 3D crimps, which I'll show in a second as well. I'll give some examples of those. But for this case, focus. There. So in this case, I have just made it as thin as possible because there is a lot of layers in this insect. So it's a good thing. Oh, not kidding again. It's a good thing when, before you actually fold a model, especially for insects, you need to take into consideration what paper you're going to use, because I'll put the crease pattern on the screen right now. So when you look at the crease pattern, you'll see that there's a lot of layers in each of those legs. So I'm going to really need a thin bit of paper. So when I add all the glue and then thin it all down, that'll give me the thinnest result, because that's what I want, that's what I'm aiming for, that's what's going to make it look as realistic as possible. So it's a matter of taking 10 minutes before you actually plan to fold it to plan the paper, and then that you'll just shape it as it is. So I'm super happy with this. This is basically the thinnest paper I could make or have on me at the time, and it works perfectly. The thickness is really nice to me, and basically I did that as normal. I glued all the layers, I folded it in half and then squished it in half again, so basically quartered the leg. But when I did the quarter, I kept it round and not flat, so it's still got that nice roundness to it rather than completely flat like this, but too round like that. So it's a nice even thickness. I mean, if I were to cut it and look at it, you should basically see a nice circle and not an oval or a different shape. So that's a really good shaping method. We also have small size folding. This is a new model, haven't shown this yet, but I'll show it here. We have Kamiya's Ant. This is brand new paper that I'm making called Penchi. It is named after my second cat, Penny. Again, it's super small. I think this is from like a 20cm square. Now anyway, when you glue with super small paper, again it's important to glue all the layers because that allows the paper to be as thin as possible, and if you need to add lots of details, having the paper as thin as possible at this size will increase your chances of adding those details, and it'll make it much easier. Pardon me. So that really does help, and it was really tricky at this size as well. The paper is super thin, much thinner than Lipche. So I will show more of this in the future, but I'm showing this to my paid memberships on my community page, so make sure to get in on that if you wish. But anyway, it's super handy for shaping with small pieces of paper. As long as you glue it correctly, don't miss any layers, then you are honestly good to go. That's personally how I do it. I've always done it that way, I've always do it that way. I mean, I'm super happy with the results that I get, so why change it? Why change it if it isn't broken? Why get a new one? You know what I mean. But anyway, that is that. So if you can, buy Type Bond II wood glue and washable clear glue. Yeah, I was going to show some examples of crimps. So here are just some quick examples of crimps or shapings. So basically, for the stag beetle, the insect, I glued all the layers, folded it in half and then just curved up. So this is basically a more better to look at from the top direction, because if you look at it like this, the legs are much thicker. So I didn't fully know how to shape at this point when I was making this. I would have done it differently, but again it gives it a much nicer look from this angle. So basically it's just folded it in half, I think it's going quarters as well, and then just curved. Just basically pull the paper and curve it. Nothing special, nothing fancy there. Next we have flat crimps, which are when you open up the paper, you push in and then you flatten it. That's what you get. I'll have pictures of these models on screen so you can see them in better detail. The lighting is terrible. It doesn't record great lighting for some reason, but again, it keeps the legs super thin as well, and also gives it the curve that you want. Now for the tarantula, we have thick crimps or 3D crimps. So the crimps don't go all the way up the paper, up to the very top. They're made basically halfway up. And then when you add a few, you can curve each of these parts in, which again give it that thick 3D look for a spider, which is what you want on this. You don't want thin ones, you want thick ones because it gives it a more natural look. And the same again, this is a 3D crimp but just a bigger scale. Well, maybe it's not, but yeah, anyway, something like that. This part right here. So you open up the layer, you gently curve it, and then push this part up, create a wee crimp here, then force that down, and then you've got it in place. So that's basically what's happening in the tarantula. Let me see. Yeah. So we have 4 crimps right here, which are the exact same as this one here. It's hard to see. Yeah, there's one right there. Yeah, it's quite hard to see. But adding crimps like this makes the paper go straight up. If you didn't add that crimp and then try to add these curves, you could add these perfectly fine, but the leg would be like that. There's no support holding it up. So adding a super strong crimp right here, gluing it, will keep the leg straight up. And then you can add all the detail you want, the leg will stay in position. Like that. So that is really handy for, again, shaping insects. A strong crimp first supports the leg or whichever part it is you're shaping, and then you can add the details and it will stay in that position when you shape. Water when it dries, and then you've nothing to worry about. So you have 3 different types of crimps, and then just an example of it in bigger size. Now let's look at pegs. Now you've probably seen me use pegs constantly in models, which I do. They are super handy if you don't have any. I would suggest you go out and buy some. Again, they come in different sizes. We have super small ones, bigger ones with more strength, so stronger, they're pushing more inwards so they hold together better, and much bigger ones. Again, I've never had to actually have a use for these big ones, but I mostly use pegs for collapsing. And what's super handy to use for pegs is, just say that you're collapsing the right side, you've got it all collapsed, but you need to go and work on the left side. So as soon as I let go of the right side to work on the left, it all comes undone. So I would need to go back and forth constantly to try and hold it together. So what I would do is, once I've collapsed all the right side, I'd peg it at certain parts, so when I let go, it all holds together. It holds together in the exact position that I want it to. Then I'll do the same on the left, and then just say it's a model that you need to have both sides collapsed in order to bring in to work on the centre. I would peg the left side as well, so both sides are pegged, and that allows me to easily work inwards. So that is a really handy trick for pegs. For shaping wise, again, if you're shaping layers, let me just I'll just fold this up. Just pretend it's an insect leg. So just say I've glued all these layers and then I peg it. You can do that. That works. Yeah. But you shouldn't really do that. You're probably asking, why shouldn't I peg it after I've glued it? Isn't that what you're saying? I am saying that, but the reason I'm not is because sometimes pegs leave little indents on the paper. Because we have, let's try and zoom in. Because we have flat bits here, they will make little flat indents on the paper. So if you were to peg it like that, come back in 6 hours to see how it's doing, undo it, you realise you'll have, just try to draw something random, you have a wee square that you can tell has been slightly indented inwards within the paper, so instead of having a clear bit of paper, you've got a wee tiny mark. Again, it wouldn't be noticeable, but to me, I want to avoid that. I want to try and not have any marks on this paper once I peg it, if I'm using pegs when shaping. So what I would do is, what I have been doing is get another piece of paper, fold it in half, again depends on the size of the part you're gluing, fold it in half again, and maybe once more, like that, and then fold it over. Then what I would do is, once I've glued this, I would insert this part over, the part that I want to glue, and then I would peg it. So that way when I come back in 8 hours, I'll take this off, this part will have the indent on it. Just, oops, failed much more. That part will have the indent on it, so when I turn it that way so it makes it better. So when I take the peg off, this part will have the wee dent on it. Then when I take that off, we are perfect. No marks on this part. We are good to go. Everything's in shape. We can add more detail, and yeah, that is basically a really handy trick if you want to save yourself getting wee tiny marks on the paper. Put a bit of piece over the part you're gluing and then peg it. Again, if you're using a bigger, stronger peg, add a bigger bit of paper. Obviously this part isn't going to fit this part because it doesn't cover all of it. So that's a really good trick. And the same again, if you're using really big pegs, get a much big bit of paper to cover and you're good to go. So pegs come in super handy for shaping and especially collapsing. So make sure to get your hands on some of these if you haven't already. Super handy and they're really useful. The next part that we will be looking at is the shaping tools, also for collapsing and general purpose as well. So we have the tool that I use the most for gluing. Now what this is so good for in gluing is because you can control the amount of glue that you put on the tip. You can apply that glue, get more, apply it. If you need to remove some, you can remove some. It comes in so handy for that especially. I always use these for gluing and shaping. And again, if you've seen me shape the Ryujin scales, you can see how useful it is to push in certain parts of paper that your fingers are obviously too big to do. And if you don't have any other tools, I mean, your fingers aren't going to be that good. You're not going to get the best results from using your fingers compared to using little tools. So again, I would highly suggest you get a pair of tweezers. Any tweezers would work. For a tool like this, any part that has a pointy edge and is quite firm, because if you look at a paintbrush, it's just soft. There's no resistance to when you push in, so you can't really get a good. You can also add glue much better on this, but with this it's so much easier, so much more precise. And again, same again, where's that tool? It's there, putting off the screen. Anything with a much pointier edge will work. So if I want to, as before, add glue in between all these wee layers in here, I can use this, and then, oh, I've missed the part. I've got all this, but I just need a part on the edge. Now this would be too big for it, so I can add a wee bit of glue on the tip of this wee spike, and then just dab it in place, and then boom, there we go. So that really does help, and it's thinking, how can I add glue? So just think to yourself, how would you add glue to a part that you really need to? What tools do you have that would work? Do you have any parts that are super fine, or any parts that are small enough to reach those places? Again, that's what I started to think the more when I started to shape more advanced models. When I got into more complex models, there was a lot more layers, I need to add a lot more glue, I need to access more parts of the models, so I need more tools for that, and that's why I got these. And it's night and day. It's honestly the best thing you'll ever do if you don't have these already. So go to cake pastry shops, cooking stores. This is where I got this. This is just a cake decorating tool, nothing fancy. And same again, I found this in a store as well. So anything that has pointy tips will work. And again, I'm sure you can get tweezers like everywhere. Again, any tweezers will work. Don't need to be fancy ones or expensive ones. These are the tweezers I've used for every single model, so they do the trick. So I don't need any other ones. Yep, so that is the tools that I use, and definitely get them. What is left? Blue tack. Oh yes. The final part, last but not least, is blue tack. Now this is a really sticky substance. I've got 9%, 8% on the battery now, so I'll try and get this through quickly. I've only used blue tack for, I think, eyes. I can't think of any other model that I've used this for in a different way. If it does, that'll come back to me at some point. Probably off camera as usual. But I've used these for eyes. So basically what you would do was, what you would do is, take a bit off, you would roll up into a rough, round shape. For the part of the model that has the eye, you would open up that part of the paper. You would have a quick guess to see if this would be big enough. Is it too big? Is it too small? Is it perfect? Then you would drop it in the paper, flip the paper over, check to make sure it's correct. And then if it is, just form the paper around it so you have a perfect circle, and then you can easily just squish it a bit more to make that eye shape. So they come in super handy as well. Again, you could also wet paper, like scrunched up paper, wet it, roll up into a ball and then let it dry. But again, what's the chances that you will get that perfect? And that will probably take a while for it to dry, just to find out that it doesn't work. So this will save you so much time and doing things. So it is called blue tack. I don't know if you can get it in other countries. Again, when I told my friends that aren't from the UK, they had no idea what I was talking about when I said blue tack. They're like, what? What is blue tack? But it's a soft substance. Again, I use it for ghost creasing. So if I've got the crease pattern here, I will put wee bits all over the paper. I'll stick that onto the paper that I'm going to crease into, and then make the creases, and then easily peel it off. And it doesn't leave any marks. It comes off super easily and it breaks easily. And you can heat it up as well. Oh, yeah, I remember saying I use this in Robert Lang's pot. Now, if you're already watching, did you have any ideas to where I used this in Robert Lang's pot? No, Robert Lang's cactus. Do you know where I used this in his cactus? Have you got any guesses to where I used this in his cactus? I used this in his cactus to stick the pot to the actual paper after I pre-creased. Now, the reason I used this and not glue or anything else was because when I added glue the first time, this wasn't on the actual square, it was a little test fold. I could see glue marks. Even when I wasn't adding a lot of glue, it seeped through, I could see glue marks, so that was out of the question. I couldn't use glue. So what I did was take off wee tiny bits, basically put a lot of them on a row, because when I stick the paper on and make the pleats and then fold this part up, this gets completely hidden. You can't see it from the outside and the pot sticks perfectly to the actual paper, and that's worked perfectly. You could use double-sided sticky tape. Just make tape here, press it down, and then add the paper over as well. But again, adding tape will add another little bit of height to the paper, so there's always that little chance that it could be seen through on the pot side or the other side. It just depends, but this is a foolproof method, blue tack right here. So make sure to get this if you can. I'm pretty sure you can order it online somewhere. That is it. I hope you watched this whole video. I hope you learned from it and took away some bits of advice and put what you have learned to practice. If you need any more help, let me know in the comments. If you've got any more questions, ask them in the comments. Ask me on Instagram, ask me anywhere, and yep, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.